So I just take it to be just another way to render a contingency argument. It depends on like a PSR. PSR entails necessitarianism, and necessitarianism is false. So therefore, like a key premise in the argument is false. No, do you disagree with that analysis?
I disagree. Yes.
Okay, so what do you think the argument
No.
is?
So you said that you disagree with necessitarianism. So what's the issue with necessitarianism?
So, so there's like two ways to cash out necessitarianism, either like metaphysical necessitarianism or logical necessitarianism. Metaphysical necessitarianism is gobbledygook, it's like gibberish, doesn't make any sense. A logical one is going to be the following. If you think necessitarianism is true, then it's going to be the case that like Bawa is talking to Kid Ink is going to be an axiom of logic. But we can't deduce Bawa is talking to Venus from the axioms of logic, therefore it's not logical necessary, therefore necessitarianism is false. There you go.
Yeah, so the reason why that doesn't necessarily follow, because there's a difference between legislative necessitarianism and ontological, right? So what I would say
Didn't I just say that? Didn't I just say metaphysical and logical
no, I said
necessitarianism?
No, so first of all, I said legislative versus logical. So I think what we ought to do is actually go with the argument first.
What's the difference? Sorry, what are the two types of necessitarianism? Explain that to me.
Yeah, so I will explain it to you, but what I want to do is offer the argument, because once I offer the argument, it necessarily follows that there has to be
just explain the two types of necessitarianism to me. Just start with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm trying to say is I want to offer the argument in the beginning.
We don't need the argument. Just give me the two definitions of necessitarianism. You said legislative and ontological, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So
what's the legislative one? What's that?
So what I'm saying is this, right? I want to explain this to you, but you're not going to understand what I'm trying to say unless I give you the argument, because you're not going to understand my distinction over here. So I want to start off by the modal distinction, right? The modal distinction that is going to offer. So a being, right, is either going to be necessary within itself or possible in itself.
What does that mean?
So what it means for a being to be possible in itself is essentially a being whose essence is neutral with respect to existence and non-existence.
What does that mean?
So what that means is essentially if a being's essence is neutral with respect to existence and non-existence, and it requires an external cause to bring it about.
That's just a PSR.
PSR, sure. Yeah, what's wrong with
the PSR entails necessitarianism.
Right.
And I gave you the argument against necessitarianism.
Yeah, but your argument is not an actual.
What's the problem with my argument? What's the problem with my argument?
So what's your account of causation, first of all?
I hold to a human account.
So are you saying, okay, so do you hold an account of causation that's empirical?
No, I hold to a human account. If all I mean when I say X causes Y.
Sorry. Okay, I thought you said human. You're saying human account.
Human,
yeah.
Okay,
human account.
But sorry, what does you keep asking me questions? I'm asking you to give me an account. Is your account is your model account any different than what? So here's the thing. Like I know you like trying to run like the buffer gate argument or like the Ismaili argument or whatever.
It's not about that. I'm not using argument.
Hold on.
No,
just listen to me, okay? I understand that like the Ismaili or the Shia or the Muslim scholastics, they use different terminology than analytic philosophers. What you guys talk about is in terms of like dependent in itself or independent of itself, right? Whereas like
sorry,
in analytic,
hold on. So what did you say?
Sorry, necessarily but dependent on itself or necessarily but dependent upon another. And then you have and these are like Abyssinian Ismaili terminologies.
That's true.
Whereas in like analytic philosophy, we use the terms of like analytic and synthetic and contingent and necessary. So I understand like we use different language. I'm super familiar with like the Islamic kalamic falsafi language. Trust me. But here's what I'm saying is like all what you're saying is the following, right? Is it like a necessary thing that's explained in terms of another thing or not? Is it like necessarily brute or necessarily dependent? And here's a way to give you like a perfect analogy to capture your view. For example, take 2 + 2 = 4, right? Where you want to say is this like necessary but dependent upon another, and what is dependent upon is like the axioms of the number theory. The number theory is going to be necessary independent of anything else, necessary by itself, but anything that's like derived from that is going to be necessary but dependent upon something else. And what you want to say is like God is like the axioms of mathematics. He is necessary and independent. He's not dependent upon anything else. He's necessary.
He's the only
exactly. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying like in your argument, which I understand very well, I think I just demonstrated that you're sneaking in the PSR. The PSR entails necessitarianism, and I just gave you like a good argument against necessitarianism.
But the reason why, so this is the reason why I actually believe in. So I think, so I'm not sure if you've read Zarapour's book on this.
Sorry, who? Sorry, one more time. Sorry, who?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you've read Zarapour's argument.
Sorry, can you write his name in the chat?
Yeah, let me. So because he actually offers, so the reason why there's going to be different modal systems actually for different.
Yeah, just give me this guy's name.
Arguments. Yeah, I mean like you seem to. Just give me a second. So his name is Mohammed Zarapour. I'll write that in the chat, and he has a very good book that actually explains Avicenna's perspective from an analytical philosophy perspective, right? So he actually gives an account of the PSR in this specific case. And this would be considered by a lot of people actually as the strong PSR in some sense. So you do have every single existent, right, specific, like at least for simplicity, contingent existence that are dependent on other existence, right? But of course, you don't have an aspect of self-causation, right? So what we say, or what we don't say, is that this independent necessary existence is a brute fact, but we say that the explanation for this absolute being is actually going to be explained within its own nature, right? So that would be the position that he takes, and he lays out a specific analytical approach of this argument, right? Now, I think this argument doesn't actually have any issues if we're going to speak about contingency arguments. And do you accept the modal distinction, the one that you just laid out earlier, with respect to either X is necessary in itself, or X is dependent but necessary through another? Do you accept that? Am I audible? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I heard you. I think you ran away. Venus ran away.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll come back.
Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we thought you
Hello?
ran away. We thought you ran away. Oh, he left.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, you took too long, so the guy left.
My internet died out for like a minute.
Hi, Chris.
Wait, invite him back.
Well, I don't know what his name was and stuff. Oh, he's back.
Sorry,
Oh, okay.
Baba, my internet died. I'm sorry, Baba.
No, it's okay. No worries.
Sorry, my internet died. I don't know what
Yeah, it's
happened.
No, it's okay. I just came back to see maybe.
Yeah, just follow me back and I'll follow you, so in case like it happens again, we can just talk to each other.
Sure.
Yeah, so like here's what I'm saying. I'm saying like I have an argument against like metaphysical and logical necessitarianism. Now, do you cash them out differently than the way that like analytical philosophers do?
Yeah, so the reason why, okay, so the reason why I asked you earlier, what's their account of causation? Because I believe that in some sense they're, in some sense synonymous, really, like, because I take causation really to be metaphysical, not an empirical notion, and I have my own argument for that. But if that's the
What
case,
does it mean for it to be a metaphysical notion?
yeah, so it's a good question. So I'm not sure if you've read Muhammad Baqir Sadr.
I don't read like ancient people. So like Baqir or Mullah Sadra or
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll
yeah.
just give you the argument.
But I know Muhammad Baqir Sadr. He was like the guy that Saddam Hussein like drilled like a drill in his skull, right?
Yeah, so he got executed for sure.
Yeah, by Saddam, right? Am I getting the wrong guy?
No, you're correct.
And his cousin was like in Lebanon, and he was like a close friend of like he founded like one of the big sects there, like the what is it called again? The Amal.
Harakat Amaliyat.
Harakat Amal. Right? I'm getting the right guy, right?
Yeah, that's the correct.
And he wrote a book in Arabic called Falsafatana, right?
Yep, that's it.
See.
Bawa, do you think that Venus knows more about Islam than you?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like, Bawa, you gotta be impressed. I know a bit about like your stuff, right?
I think we've spoken before, actually. Like, now that I'm
I don't know about that, but like from like the get-go, like I know your stuff, right?
No, I never claimed that you don't.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, I understand. Like, you adopt like sort of like so you're like an Itna Ashari, right?
Yep.
So the Itna Ashari is the Ismailis and the.
Well, yeah, specifically the Jafari school,
and the Falsafis, and even amongst yourself, for example, let me give you like an example. You know, like what is he called? Like Habib. What's that like really controversial guy in London called Habib something?
Oh yes, Habib. Yeah, but we don't follow that guy.
What is his full name?
Yes, Habib.
Yes, Habib. Who's his marja? What was he called again? Remind me.
I believe I could be wrong, but I believe it's Shirazi. I could be wrong.
Shirazi, like the Shirazis, they takfir the Akbarians, right?
Yeah. So
but Khomeini and Khamenei were both Akbarians, right? Like their metaphysics were Akbarian, right?
Yes, it's very close to Irfani, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And Mullah Sadra and all these people, Tabatabai, they were all Akbarians, right?
Yeah, they were. Well, although Tabatabai doesn't agree with Sadra on everything, but yeah.
Sure. But like my point is like the Wahdat al-Wujud, the sort of like the Neoplatonist metaphysics you're trying to like play around with is not like there's not like ijma amongst like the 12ers, but it's like a view that like some 12ers hold.
No, I wouldn't say some 12ers. You know, there's a pretty good amount, especially in the schools of Najaf, etc. Right? But yeah, I agree with you. It's
like the Najafi school and others, but like the Shirazis, they would like consider this to be
that's true.
Sure.
I agree with you.
Stop showing off and just debate the existence of God.
Sorry, I'm trying to understand his view. Sorry, yeah, Rawa. I'm not Bawa. Is Bawa, right? Bawa?
It's not really Bawa, but we're trying to be a little
bit. What should I call you?
You can call me Bawa, but I'm saying that's not my
real name. What do you prefer?
Bawa. Whatever's
Bawa.
there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm just trying. So what you're saying you hold to like a Neoplatonist view, correct?
Sure, yeah. So there's still some issues that I'm still trying to work out in this framework and see whether.
But you're like a necessitarian, right?
Yeah, so I do believe that things are either caused by virtue of another, right?
Not cause. I'm talking about modality.
Yeah. So that's what I mean, right? So what we really mean when we say that something is necessary through another, right? It's by causal determinism.
So I take necessary by another is that it's like necessary, but it's dependent.
So this is exactly what we mean, right? So if you have a specific effect, right? Right, and this effect
a causal effect.
Yeah, so if you have a being, okay, well, let me actually just reframe this by saying if you have a being that's possible in itself, right, then its essence is essentially neutral with respect to existence and non-existence. Now, these are the terms that are utilized, for this argument. Now, if you have, doubts with these terms, that's a whole different argument, the whole different issue.
But what do you mean by necessary?
Yeah, so let me just kind of continue on my point. So if we assume these terms for the sake of argument, then you would need an external reality or cause, right, to essentially knock or tilt, right, the balance one way or another. So it could either cause something not to exist or to bring it about into existence.
Sure, right? I get the picture, but I think you're confusing causality with modality. This is
actually the modal distinction of Avicenna. That's actually the modal distinction, right? That's what we mean. That's what we mean when we say that something.
It's your interpretation of Avicenna. That's fine, but like, what do you think necessary means?
Yeah, so that's okay. So there's two kinds of necessities, right? Either something is necessary through another or necessary in itself. That's
necessary in itself. What does that mean?
Yeah, necessary in itself, which entails its independency, or just i.e. independency, right?
Sure. So it seems like when you're using necessary, you're not talking about modality. You're talking about causation or grounding.
No. This is so when I say so notions like independency and dependency are metaphysical, right? So I don't.
Yeah, those are gonna be like metaphysical relations. I agree with it. But what I'm saying is like, I think you guys don't understand what modality is given like analytic philosophy, because all we mean when we say something is necessary, what we mean is like there's going to be a contradiction in denying it, and something possible is that like it's consistent with the axioms of logic,
Yeah,
and
that's
something
fine.
impossible is that it will be a
Yeah,
contradiction if you
and
deny it.
here's the thing, kid, right? So I understand what you're saying, but there are different modalities out there, right? So you can even utilize a possible world modality for the contingency
But
argument,
here's
right?
the beautiful thing, like me personally, I only believe in logical and nomological modality, and I gave you an argument against metaphysical modality. I told you it's like gobbledygook. What does it mean for something to be metaphysically possible? So I gave you an argument. It can't be
So
the
what kind of
cases like
modality? So yeah, so what kind of? I want you just to restate
uh-huh.
the modality that you commit to, because clearly we might have.
Logical and nomological.
Okay, okay. So you said that something is necessary if its contradiction entails a possibility, impossibility, right?
Sorry, somebody's calling me on Discord. Let me just hang up. Sorry, let me just hang up. Yeah. So like there's like two modalities I commit to. One is like when I say something is necessary, what I mean is like denying it is a contradiction. It
Okay.
is possible if it's consistent with the axioms of logic, and it is impossible that it means that if you deny it, it's going to give you a contradiction. The second type of modality is called nomological modality, and that means that like if I deny it, then I'm denying like the laws of physics. If I affirm it, then
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
and if I say it's possible, then it is uh, consistent with the laws of physics, and if it's like necessary, then it's either like the laws or entailed directly by the laws.
Okay, I see. Yeah. So with respect to your to the aspect or notion that if you deny something that's necessary in itself, right,
hmm
or independent, you entail a contradiction. Yeah,
But
I'm
I
fine
think
with
when you
that.
say necessary by itself, what I think you mean is that this
Independent
one this one thing doesn't stand in a dependence relationship to something else. That's what I
to
think you
something
mean.
in all respects. Yeah,
And
and
that relationship, I don't think that's like a modal relationship. I think it's a metaphysical relationship. It's like causation or grounding.
yeah. So, but I would argue that the terms you use are metaphysical and essentially modal as
Yeah, but
well.
I'm
So
not
that
using metaphysical terms. I'm using modal terms. But
yeah, yeah.
when you're saying dependent, you're using metaphysical terms, which is fine. But I'm just trying to understand, do you think this thing is like logically
Well,
necessary in my sense? Or do you say, in my
well.
sense, it wouldn't be necessary?
So here's the thing, right? I would somewhat disagree there, because even in Zarapur's book, like it's literally utilized as a modal distinction when you say that either X is necessary
Sorry,
itself or
who's this
to
guy?
another.
Sorry, can you write the name? Zara
Yeah,
who?
yeah, I wrote the name. So he's actually
Mohammed Zarapur. Okay.
yeah, philosopher of mathematics and just metaphysics in general. He's actually written a very good monograph on Ibn Sina's argument that is actually framed from an analytical
I can't
perspective. So
find
maybe
anything in Google. Did you write his name correctly? At least like
yeah,
the
yes, yeah.
transliteration, is that correctly? Zarapur?
Let me just double check.
Oh, I found him. Is this like Muhammad Salah Zarapur?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. I found him now. He's like in Al Mahdi Institute, right?
Yeah, I even have the PDF of the book if you're ever
But it's
interested.
like in Al Mahdi Institute, correct?
Yes, I believe
Okay,
so.
yeah. I'm not familiar with this guy, but like I can look
No,
into him
he's
if you want.
yeah, no, absolutely, and he's he even so he's primarily a philosopher of mathematics, so he actually has a lot of
Sure, but
ideas with respect to that.
do you understand my notions of modality? Like,
Yeah,
what do you
yeah.
think the difference between me and you are in terms of modality?
So it's interesting because I don't necessarily deny your understanding of necessity in the sense that its negation would entail a contradiction. I don't deny that, but I guess your notion of what it means to be necessary might be somewhat different. So when you say that the denial of it entails a contradiction, that's fine. But when you attempt to explain something to be necessary, what do you mean that X is necessary, for example?
Necessary just means it's like a theorem or like an axiom of logic, which also means that like if you negate it, it entails a contradiction.
Okay, that's fine. But what I'm trying to say is that you don't necessarily okay. So even if you don't negate it, right? So if you just take the being itself, right? I believe it would still essentially um, be subject to the moral distinction that I'm committed to, right?
Which is what?
So which is either that this reality is either dependent or necessary in itself, right? So if you
No, but
take even
necessary in itself means something else other than my necessary. But the dependence there is supposed to be some kind of a causal relationship. But I need you to cash out that relationship for me. Because look, all I'm saying is like I'm only talking about logical modality, which means that like if something is necessary, then negating it is a contradiction. If it's possible, it's consistent with the axioms of logic. If it's impossible, then affirming it is going to give you a contradiction. I understand you have like a different notion, and you want to talk in terms of like dependency relationship. But what's like the dependent relationship there supposed to be? What's that causal relation or grounding relation, or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
type
So
of
what?
relation?
Yeah, yeah. So what it really means, and this is the reason why I usually
Uh-huh.
utilize these terms interchangeably. Like what it really means when I use that something is ontologically dependent is that its essence is just neutral with respect to existence and non-existence, which
Yeah, but I
really
don't
just
understand what that means.
yeah. So that means its existence is not necessary within itself. I mean, do you make a distinction
Yeah,
between
does that
essence and
mean
existence?
anything other than I don't talk in terms of essences, but does that mean anything other than it's like logically necessary?
So it's logically necessary through another, right? And that's essentially the necessity through another, right? And why is that the case? Because essentially, if you we don't the reason why we actually believe that is because if the absolute one is necessary in all respects, right? And the absolute one can essentially be regarded as the first cause, then any change in the effect would be a
Well,
change, which would be a
well,
change in the cause, right? Would which inevitably would be a
no, I
change in the
understand
first
your
cause.
Neoplatonism. I'm just saying like you're talking like Pokemon right now. What does it mean
No,
to
no,
be
it's not. But
necessary through
hold on,
another?
but kid, with all due respect, like that's the reason why it's a logical contradiction
But what
because it
does
would
it mean
entail.
to be necessary through another? That's what I'm not understanding.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So if,
okay,
is it a
so
contradiction if I deny the proposition? Look, what I take necessary and contingent to be is properties of propositions. You can translate things to propositions by saying like if this thing exists is necessary, but I don't understand when you say it's necessary by another. That's what I'm not understanding.
yeah, so what I mean by it's necessary by another is that there needs to be an existent that knocks this balance
What's
between.
that needs to be? When you say needs to be, what's that
Yeah,
relationship? Needs, needs,
yeah.
needs. What does that mean?
It's a relationship that one bestows existence to the other, right?
What
Because
does that
it's
mean?
neutral. What do you mean? What does that mean? It's
What
it's
does
a
it mean to
process.
bestow existence upon another? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, it's an emanation process.
What's that? What's emanation? Can you explain that
So
to me? I know
yeah,
Neoplatonist believes in emanation and grounding, but I'm saying both grounding and emanation are both gobbledygook, under my view.
I mean, well, yeah.
So
So that's the thing, right? There's going to be an impasse because you don't accept the terms I use, right?
but you can't explain them to me.
No,
What does
but I
it
have.
mean to emanate? What does it mean to emanate?
Yeah, that's literally okay. But I've explained that to you multiple times. That what
One
it
more
means
time,
to
one more time. I'm
yeah,
gonna write it down. One more time, one more
yeah.
time.
What
Sorry,
what it
one more
means
time.
is that there's a causal relationship, right,
Oh, it's
between
a
the
causal relationship. Okay.
yeah. That's
And
what
what's
what
that
I've been
cause?
saying. Sorry, what was that?
What causes what in the causal
Oh,
relationship?
yeah. So what happens is that either a dependent being X is caused by another dependent being, or by or sorry, either a dependent being X is caused by another dependent being, right? And that chain goes on infinitely, or there's actually an independent being that's essentially there, right?
Sure, sure, sure. So sure. Okay, so you cash out emanation in terms of causation, correct?
Yes, and this causation is not
I
dependent
can
on
make
anything,
I can make I
right?
can make sense of that now. What does that okay, so like the one, is it necessary?
In itself, the one, yes.
Yeah, so what's the contradiction in denying the one?
Yeah, so the contradiction would be in denying the one is essentially that you would not have any existence. And let me
Why
explain
not?
why. Okay, so let me just lay out the
Just give me
contradiction.
do you have like an argument? Can you just
Yeah,
give me
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah,
argument?
yeah. I'm about to like give you an argument by contradiction. So
Sure, okay.
suppose you have an existence that is contingent, right? Let's say O. Now
Wait,
O
wait,
is
wait. Contingent there. Do you mean contingent in my sense or in your
no,
sense?
in my sense.
Which is what?
So which is a being that's essence is neutral with respect to existence,
I don't accept
non-existence.
that definition. I'm saying like in my sense, something contingent means it doesn't
No, no, but
it's
I'm giving
logically
you
possible. It's logically possible, but it doesn't and it can be brutally contingent, meaning it doesn't have an explanation.
no,
So like
I don't. But so okay, so what I'm saying is that so do you deny ontological dependence? Like that's
yeah,
the deepest aspect.
I don't believe in grounding or dependence or all of that stuff. And I'm a human but causation. I think all of that stuff is like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or something. I think all that's like magic. But what I'm saying is like if you try to translate the Abyssinian argument, into the way like somebody in like analytic philosophy can understand it, it's ultimately just going to be the Leibnizian contingency argument, and I'm just going to reject it because I reject the PSR. So here's the problem. What you guys do is you guys like shroud yourself in like esoteric terms, like dependent in itself, independent of itself, dependent upon another. But all you guys ultimately are gonna mean is something of the following: either it's caused by another, or it's not caused by another, which is gonna translate to the Kalam cosmological argument,
No,
or
not at all.
or
But
or it
that's a
has an
straw man, though.
explanation. Sorry, no, I'm giving like a multitude of ways of translating it,
No, but
or
it's a
it
straw man
has.
because the Kalam cosmological argument is actually time dependent, right? That's not what this argument relies on.
No, all look, you're missing the critique. All I'm saying is like either you're gonna say something like the following, like either the relationship there independent, sorry, necessary independent and necessary dependent upon another, either it's gonna mean something like the following. It's like an uncaused cause, and the argument is gonna be similar to the Kalam cosmological argument, where you're gonna say like there's like one thing that's like uncaused, or it's gonna be something like the Leibnizian argument, where you're saying like there has to be like one thing that's like necessary, which explains like everything else being contingent. And we have like arguments against both of those arguments. But what you guys do is like you shroud your arguments in all this like esotericism, where you say dependent upon another, independent of another, and
Oh,
you
but
don't
these are
adopt modern day terminologies. Because
no, but they are.
once you translate it into like modern day terminologies, it's either gonna be the kalam or the contingency argument.
No, but here's the thing, right? If you're saying that this modal system is incorrect, then you'd have to show why ontological.
I'm not saying it's incorrect. I'm saying it translates
No,
into
but
one or the other.
no, but what you're saying is that it's hocus pocus and Pokemon stuff. So
I'm
what's the
saying
issue?
grounding dependence, and that stuff is hocus pocus.
Yeah, so ontological dependence. What's the issue with that?
What does
What's
that
the problem?
mean?
What does I just explained to you what it means?
Not in a sense that I can make sense of. We want to try again.
I've explained. I've already told you that something that's ontologically dependent,
What does
right?
it mean for something to be ontologically dependent? What does that mean?
Yes, I told you. It means that it requires an existence outside of itself to knock the balance between existence and non-existence.
Yeah, what
That's
does
why
that
I
mean?
asked you.
Why? What is
Yeah,
this like required relationship? What's that required relationship there?
and that's why I asked you if you agree with the distinction between essence and existence.
I told you no. I don't believe in that shit.
All right,
But I
well, that's the
said,
thing. If you don't believe in any of these terms, right? Like,
but I'm
first of all,
saying
you
I
have to
can.
give an argument
Look.
for it. Well, hold on, let me just make my point, brother.
Uh-huh.
First of all, like, if you don't agree with this argument, you can say they're horseshit, but you'd have to give an
I
argument
can't. No,
against
no.
them.
I don't need to give an argument because I don't even think these things make any sense. You have to make sense of
But
them.
why? Like, what's your reasoning behind
I
that?
could. I could make sense. Wait. I could make sense of them. You can ask somebody else here in the room. I could make sense of them for the sake of my life. What does it mean to say something is dependent on something else if it's not a causal relationship? You can say by dependence, all you mean is like X causes Y, and that says okay. I make sense of that. Then what's the argument that there can't be something uncaused that causes everything else?
Well, that's the whole point of me trying to entail a contradiction, but you're telling me that you don't even accept the basic terms. Now I'm asking
I
you if you don't
accept
accept.
causal relationship, but if you introduce any other relationship besides like a causal and an inferential one, that's where you're going to have a problem.
Okay,
Now,
okay, so let's just go with that then. Let's just go with that for the sake
mhm,
of argument. You
mhm.
accept causal relationships. Now I asked
Uh,
you, right? So we're on the same page here. What's your account of causation? Now you told me it's a human causation, right?
correct. Uh-huh.
Okay, okay, but I believe that the human causation is actually flawed, right?
Why?
Okay, so the reason why I believe so is the following. So, Hume actually believes that
No, I don't give a shit about what Hume. I believe in a human causation, not what Hume said. Which means that like what I take to be causation is an instance of like a law, which means that like there's like constant conjunction, and whenever X
yeah,
appears, Y
exactly. But
appears, and all that means is like the X is like the cause of Y. I don't care what Hume personally said.
that okay. But that's you literally just laid out his entire
Sure,
thesis
but
for
don't
this.
quote Hume. Critique my view, not what Hume said.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. But you're saying it's a human account, and I thought I would just essentially present it and show you the issue. You're just kind of like you're basically putting the cart before the
No,
horse.
but no, but like there's like a difference because like Hume might have inspired the view, but like he might have said things I disagree with. Like when I say human, like just like when I say Platonist, right? It's not necessarily I agree with everything Plato
Okay,
said,
and if that's the
but I
case,
can. But you ask me what my view is, I'll give you my view. Don't quote
all right.
somebody else.
Yeah, but you said Hume. Okay, so I'm assuming
Don't
that you
quote
endorse
Hume.
him.
Don't quote. I can tell you my view.
When I
My
tell you I'm
view
an
is
Avicennian, it's a fair assumption to say that I endorse his
no,
view.
no, no, no. What
Of course it is.
no, no. The fair assumption is it's inspired by Avicenna, not that you take everything he said.
Yeah, but of course, I'm not saying in every single aspect, but to say that you don't endorse his view is, somewhat absurd to me. Like, of course you do. If
No,
I'm
I
going to
can.
lay out his view,
It's either I
like the
endorse his
way you
view
did, like
one.
for example, the way you just explained it is basically, very, very similar to what he believes. In fact, it's almost the same. You're talking about a constant conjunction between event A and B,
Sure,
right?
sure. But my point is the following: like, criticize my view the way I present it. Don't quote somebody else.
I never. Okay, so you're assuming that I quoted him as in like I wasn't going to
You
critique your
you were
view.
about you were about to say Hume said the following, and I cut you
Yeah,
off
of
there and said
course.
no, 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 no. Don't quote Hume. I can tell you my view, and criticize what I'm telling you, not what like Hume said.
All right, that's fine for the sake of argument. So what's your account then?
I'm gonna explain it again. What I
Yeah,
take causation to be is just constant conjecture. That means like whenever X appears, Y appears. That means that X causes Y, and I think it has to be subsumed under like a law.
okay.
So, for
Does it is it
example,
okay? So if that means it's you would agree that it's empirical and it's time dependent, right?
absolutely.
Okay. So in this case, I want to ask you just off the top of my head. So how do you explain the causation, right? Because essentially, now I'm not saying that this is your view, right?
hmm
But if you're saying that your view is also time dependent, then it suffers the same criticism.
I'm saying causation is a temporal notion. I don't know what you mean by my view being time dependent. I'm saying causation is
yeah, it's
temporal.
temporal notion. Okay, so how do you
Yeah.
explain the cause and effect relationship between the motion of my hand while I'm writing on a paper, right? For the motion of
Sorry,
the hand
sorry.
being the cause, and so psychologically speaking, we can understand that the hand, right, is the cause of the motion of the pencil or perhaps the ring on my finger,
Uh-huh.
right? Unless you, so what this entails is that there's no, this is actually happening simultaneously. You cannot
I
actually
don't no,
different.
I don't think so. I think there's like the cause that is going to be your intention. It's going to be an intentional explanation.
Okay, you're saying that okay, but here's the issue, right? You're saying there's a constant conjunction. So whenever I see A, I see B, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so you don't see A B happening after A. They happen simultaneously. So how do you explain it on your view?
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, what I'm saying is like usually I would cash them out in terms of law, but I also believe in a second class of explanation called intentional explanations. And that way means like I can explain an action based on like the your beliefs and desires. So for example, let me give you an example. Let's say that like when like you put your hand on the stove and you just like pull your hand instantly, right? It's like hot and just like pull your hand. I won't say that's like an action, but I can say we can explain some actions. For example, you turn off the light once you want to sleep. If I can like pair it by belief and desires. So I think that's like a second class type of causation, which is explained in terms of intentionality. And I think
Yeah, yeah, but
agent causation is going to be explained differently than like every other type of cause.
but with all due respect, I still think whatever class you're essentially trying to put this problem in, it still suffers the same fate because your
Why?
causation, I'll tell you, because your causation fundamentally, as you said, right, is time dependent, right? It's temporal.
Sure, but
Those were your words.
the intention is prior to the action.
Yeah, but here's the issue, kid. Right? If it's temporal, and I'm giving you an example of a situation that's happening simultaneously, then it automatically destroys your
It's not
account of
happening.
causation.
It's not happening simultaneously, though. That's what I'm denying.
Okay, so
Look,
how?
if you intend to sleep, is your intention prior to you turning the light or not?
Sorry, what was that?
If you
No, but
intend
this
to go
has
to
nothing. No,
sleep,
but here's the thing. It has nothing to do with intentions,
no,
right?
I'm saying like agential causation is explained in terms of intentionality.
No, but how does your? I'm trying to understand if your account is dependent or is explained in terms of constant conjunction, right? Then you're
Uh
at
huh.
Yeah,
what that.
but
So what that?
simultaneous causation isn't can be an instance of constant conjunction. Right? There's nothing atemporal.
No, not
about
necessarily. I'll tell you why. That's not.
It's not.
conjunction.
It's not.
No, I'll explain to you why
About
that's not the case.
simultaneous causation.
By the way, Jack, do you
That-
disagree with my account of
No.
cause, or is it like similar to yours?
That's similar.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You're
so
just
the issue-
look, Bawa.
no,
You're
let me
confused because.
let me just clarify. Right, let me
Okay.
just,
Okay.
yeah, just
Go ahead.
the reason why I'm saying is this, right? Constant conjunction, right? When you say you have a constant conjunction between A and B, right? You're
Mhm.
essentially saying that whenever A appears, B appears with it. That's what it means to be constant conjunction, right? But in this account is temporal. Now, the example I gave essentially is a counter argument
No.
towards this.
The example you give is
Absolutely.
confused because there's like an intention that's like prior to the action.
No, but
Yeah,
the
but
intention is irrelevant.
But
Where's
priority isn't even.
how? Okay, so where is the notion of
Prior-
temporality in this perspective?
Sorry. What were you saying, Jack?
Well, priority isn't even required for there to be constant conjunction, right? Simultaneous causation could be true on a Humean account.
Of
Yeah,
course, yeah.
no,
What I'm
I'll tell
saying
you
is
why it's
like
not. Actually, it's not, Jack, because if you've read Hume's work, actually, he says that this is
we don't care
actually
what Hume said though. That's what I told you like just
yeah.
earlier.
No, but I'm
Chris
actually
says
talking about
our
Jack.
view, not what like Hume wrote. Chris says
Yeah, but
my view.
no, but your view still suffers the same problem.
How?
Because it's not temporal. That's my whole point.
Yeah,
Is there-
simultaneity is a temporal relation.
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah, necessarily, it's a temporal
wait,
relation.
simultaneous.
That-
Wait, but even Jack.
Necessarily, simultaneity is a temporal relation because what simultaneous means is
Where's
occurring
okay?
at
So
the
what
same
is the
time.
okay? If that's the case, Jack, what is the time difference?
What do you mean? What is the time difference?
If it's temporal, right? What is the time difference between the motion
It's
of
gonna
my
be the
hand?
same time. It's gonna be the same time. That's what
There's no
simultaneous.
Priority isn't even required for there to be constant conjunction, right? Simultaneous causation could be true on a Humean account.
Of course, yeah. What I'm
I'll tell
saying
you
is
why
like
it's not. Actually, it's not, Jack, because if you read Hume's work, actually, he says that this
we
is
don't
actually
care what Hume said though. That's what I told you like just
yeah.
earlier.
No, but I'm
Chris
actually
says
talking
our
about Jack.
view, not what like Hume wrote. Chris says
Yeah,
my view.
No, but your view still suffers the same problem.
How?
Because it's not temporal. That's my whole point.
Yeah,
But is it-
simultaneity is a temporal relation.
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah, necessarily, it's a temporal
wait,
relation.
simultaneous. Wait, but even Jack.
Simultaneity is a temporal relation because what simultaneous means is
Where's
occurring
okay?
at
So
the
what
same
is the
time.
okay? So okay, if that's the case, Jack, what is the time difference?
What do you mean? What is the time difference?
If it's temporal, right? What is the time difference between the motion
It's
of
gonna
my
be the same
hand?
time. It's gonna be the same time. That's what
There's no
simultaneously
time.
means.
It's zero. There's no time.
No, it happens at
You
the
un-
same
you
time. That's what
understand-
simultaneously means.
Dude, are you serious?
You understand
Hold on,
that
let me explain.
You understand that simultaneous means occurring at the same time, right?
Okay, so what's the time?
Whatever time
You-
it is.
Do you
What are
understand
you?
what the word?
But hold on, but that's what simultaneous means.
Do you understand what the word simultaneous means?
Yes, exactly. Occurring at the same time. What is the
Bawa,
time?
yeah.
Zero.
Whatever
The
time
time-
it is, whatever time it's gonna be the same time between the cause and the effect.
Okay, so what is
Yeah.
that? Okay, but you're assuming a time there. You're assuming a temporal aspect.
Whatever
there.
time I did the action, whatever time it is, it's gonna be the same time.
Okay, so when you say time is zero, right?
I'm not saying. Oh my
Is that a positive? No, hold up. Is that a positive quantity? In reality, of course it's not.
What,
There's no
what,
time
what,
there.
does, what does positive quantity in reality mean?
It means that there's an actual
Now,
time
now,
between the
now
two
you're bringing
events.
more. Now you're bringing more Pokemon into the picture. What does that mean?
I mean, look, with all respect, kid, you can call it Pokemon, but you haven't given any arguments against my modality.
Look. Here's,
Hold on,
you
let me.
haven't given me a modality. Look, here's what I said. I said like first off, like you can have simultaneously, but I said like even in terms of like agent causation, there is going to be a priority there. Even if you ignore the simultaneously thing, the intention is always going to be prior to the action.
That's irrelevant to the point. I'll tell you why. Because we're talking about the events themselves. We're not talking specifically about the intention.
Aren't we talking the cause and the effect?
Yeah, I'm concerned
Yeah,
with the motion of the
intention
hand.
is.
Yeah, but okay, just give me a second. I'm talking about the motion of the hand and the motion of the finger, for example, right? Like you cannot conceive of the motion of the hand happening without the motion of the finger in this perspective, right?
But what's the cause of the motion?
Yeah, but that's the point. So that's the point. The cause is the hand, right?
But I won't cash it out that way. Also, like,
but here's the thing, right? That's the argument against your account of causality. It's the fact that we actually do infer a causation.
but we don't do. Who's this we? Who's this we? Who's this we?
No.
Sorry, who's this we?
Okay, so are you saying that the motion of the hand is not the cause of the motion of
I
the
would
finger?
say it depends. What do you mean by cause? There, are we talking about agent causation?
We're talking about your account. Like we're talking about your account of causation, right?
Yeah, but I already told you, like in agent causation is going to be in terms of a belief, desire, compare. So like emotion is going to be okay. So like when it comes to agents, the way you explain actions is going to be by desires and beliefs. So like I have a belief and I have a desire, and that's going to cash out into some action. And that belief and desire is going to be prior to the action. So like the hand and the fingers are going to be completely irrelevant. But there's going to be another way where maybe I can say something like the hand and the finger is something like with the physics where The thing can only move.
With all due respect, you're complicating this beyond necessity. Like, just
no, that's what intentional agency is. Look, what I told you is like for agential causation, I have a different account, and my account is going to be an intentional one. Now, if you want to say something like maybe you can't move this part of the limb unless you move this part, that might be cashed out in terms of like a physical law. But in terms of like an action, that's going to be cashed out and given like intentionality.
Okay, so
but the intention, the intention of belief, the desire and the belief of the agent is going to be the cause.
So you're saying that the motion of the hand has nothing to do with the motion of the finger. It's just purely your intention.
In what there's like look, there's going to be two senses. Maybe it is the case, like given how the limb is constructed.
Okay, I'm speaking about the first sense. I'm talking about the first sense, right? I'm
concerned with the motion. I'm trying to.
Yeah,
look,
okay,
you keep cutting me off. I'm going to explain to you by both senses. Maybe it is something to do with like the limb and the physics of like the limb, but I can't move like one part unless I move the other part. That's going to be like taken to be like a physical causation, like unless like the hand moves this way, the finger moves the other way. But the second way is going to be explained in terms of like the intention of the agent.
Okay, that's fine. Let's just take the first view, for example. How is this first sense that you just explained reconcilable with your view of account of causation?
Wait,
how is it?
I'm saying if it's the case that the hand can't move unless this other part moves, it is always the case that like once X moves and Y moves, it's captured by the first sense. It's going to be constant conjunction.
And Mike, okay, beautiful. Just 1 second, kid. Beautiful. I agree with that. How is that now reconcilable with your temporal notion of causality?
Well, what's the problem with the temporal head? Let's say they're simultaneous. What's the problem?
Because that's the point. Like t equals 0, it's happening simultaneously. You cannot conceive.
What's the problem? Because, why can't they be constant conjunction?
Okay, but so here's the thing, right? The issue with this is the following. You still actually, right? We actually do infer a causal relationship.
Who's this we? Who's this we? Who's this we? Who's this we?
Do you not infer that the motion?
No, I don't agree with it.
Oh, so what? You don't. Let me ask you a question.
When you say, don't say we do this thing. Say here's one way to infer it, and agree, and ask me if I agree with it or not.
Okay, that's fine. So do you agree that the motion of the hand is the cause of the motion of the thing of the ring?
In what sense of cause?
Come on, man. Like,
so in one sense, like if you're saying like it's impossible. Sorry. In one sense, if you're saying it's like impossible to move your finger without moving your hand, it's going to be a cause. It's going to be a cause in the first sense. Yes. Okay, if the finger can't be moved unless the hand be moved by like a homological sense of modality, then yes, the hand is like. But even if they move at the same time, there's no problem.
All right, beautiful. So you accept that there's a relation of causation there, but nevertheless, there's not a constant conjunction.
There is because
we already.
Oh my God.
No, it doesn't work. No, hold up. You guys are not understanding. That's the funny thing.
Do you agree that simultaneity is a temporal relation?
Not necessarily. No, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
What do you think simultaneity means?
So here's the thing, right? No, hold up. Are you saying?
Answer. Look. Answer your question. What does simultaneously mean? Just answer the question.
So I'll answer you the question. So with respect to simultaneity,
you're giving me a headache. What does it mean?
Yeah, so it can happen at something essentially
what
t
does
equals 0.
Simultaneous mean?
T equals 0. Yeah, I'll literally tell you. T equals 0.
You're not answering the fucking question.
I don't know what game you're playing.
There's no time.
Look.
No, you dumbass! It's the same time. There is time. It's the same time.
I don't understand.
So is there a constant conjunction?
Look,
hold up, Jack. It's 1 second.
I'm losing my patience with you. I'm getting really angry now.
Dude, you understand what I'm talking
about? You're over.
Yeah, Bawa. I'm even friendly than Jack.
Hold up.
Bawa, be quiet. Bawa, shh. Go ahead, Jack.
Stop talking, Bawa. Okay. I asked you a simple question.
No, Jack, you're an idiot. Like,
now you're over talking.
Bawa, don't make me.
I tell you to stop over talking me.
Bawa, when smart people are talking, you need to be quiet because you're not that smart.
You're an atheist. Like, you're the last person to talk.
Bawa, you're like a Muslim, okay? You're like the dumbest people alive, so be quiet.
Like, come on, man. Like, you're an atheist. You have no manners. Let's be honest.
Sorry, Bawa, you need to be quiet.
You guys can take over the room. That's fine. But if you want, hold up, kid, are you going to come to our rooms if you want to have a legitimate discussion? I'll have a discussion with you.
Bawa, you can't answer the fucking question. We were respectful to you, but you dodged the question. You dodged the question. You're running away from the question.
You're saying.
Now look, we'll go over it again.
No, hold on. Look, if you're not,
listen, Bawa.
Hold on, if you're not gonna let me speak,
Bawa. If you be quiet, we can answer your fucking question.
If you're not gonna let me speak, I'm gonna leave straight up. Like, if you're gonna gang up,
go ahead, run away.
Fucking question.
You and I can debate.
I'm not gonna let you speak. I
was talking to you. Okay, go ahead, run.
What a fucking piece of garbage.
You know what the funny thing is, like, Jack, I even granted like the thing, but I also said like even in the case of like agent causation, the intention is going to be prior to the action.
Yeah, but the point is, you don't even need to grant him that, right? Like, the fact is that simultaneous conjunction is a type of conjunction, and it can be constant.
I grant that, but like I always like to grant them as much as possible.
No, that's fair. I understand that, but it's annoying me that he doesn't understand a simple point, which is that simultaneity is a temporal relation, and it's not in conflict with the idea of simultaneous causation is not in conflict with the idea of constant conjunction.
Oh, but do you understand like the Islamic scholastic modality stuff? Because like, it makes sense of it.
I don't understand it.
Well, do you think I was like charitable in this as I was like trying to understand him from his own view? But you agree like he didn't make any sense?
Of course not.
All right. You know, Jack, my personal view is I really think like the Abyssinian argument is just like Leibniz's argument. Once you like actually like translate it one to one.
Yeah, I'd like to learn more about that argument at some point.
Well, you don't think so?
You may be right. I don't really know enough about it.
But you don't think it assumes some kind of a PSR?
Well, I assume it does.
Yeah, like all I think is when they're saying dependent of itself or independent by another, all I think their meaning is something like theorems and axioms. Like theorems are going to be necessary, but they're going to be like dependent on like the axioms. But once you translate that, all I think they're saying is like anything that is like contingent requires an explanation, and that's just going to be like the PSR, like a strong version of the PSR. They're going to say like anything that's like anything that's like dependent on another is going to require another thing that's like on which it is dependent, and they'll just say like that it requires an explanation. And so they're just trying to get to something like that's independent by itself, and not just to say that like something is like necessary in the Leibnizian sense.
Let me see what's happening in this other room. I'll be right back.
Oh, that guy was friends with Rashad.
I was actually enjoying the conversation.
Sorry, who said that?
I said that.
Anas?
Who?
Yes, I did.
Hey,
Hey.
you're enjoying it?
Well, I was impressed by Kid knowing all these stuff about the Ismaili and Shia. It's really impressing. Yeah, but I have a question for Kid because he said whenever A exists, then B existed. It's caused for it. Can you run it through me again, Kid, if you don't mind?
Sorry, what's your question?
The argument you mentioned before. See, I'm not a philosopher, though. I'm not interested in philosophy, but I am.
Explain it to him in Arabic.
But I am a religious person, right? So I don't explain things from philosophical perspective, but from the religion understanding. But anyway, you mentioned something about this Hume, whatever, like his explanation for causal relation. You said.
Yeah, explain it to him.
Yeah, what's your question?
He wants you to
what's his question, Jack?
explain the Humean view to him, but do it in Arabic.
بتحكي عربي يا أنس؟
بحكي عربي.
طيب فشيخ الإسلام ديفيد هيوم يقول أن عندما عندك شيء وعندك شيء ثاني، يعني في كل وقت عندك x وبعد ذلك عندك y، فالx هو السبب لy، وهذا ما معناه causation، سببها أو علة.
Yeah, but why not y is the cause for x here? Why it's x?
لأنك عندك كيف تقول باللغة العربية asymmetry؟ باللغة العربية كيف تقول asymmetry؟
متشابه.
تفهم هذه الكلمة؟
متشابه متماثل.
لا asymmetry.
متماثل.
تفهم ما هو asymmetry؟ Asymmetry.
Let me check.
Yeah, Jack, you just fucked us over because there's like these terms that they don't have Arabic words.
No, it has. I told you it's متماثل, man.
No, it's I know what it is.
Sorry,
it's عدم التناسق.
Sorry. طيب, Murphy, you speak better Arabic than I do. Murphy, you explain it to him.
I don't know what the thing you're trying to explain is. I'm just
tell him like the reason why x causes y, not y causes x, is because of like asymmetry, and x is prior to y in terms of time.
No, if it's prior. No, it doesn't matter what does it mean. But so if it's prior to y, right? Then how they exist at the same time?
Yeah, but there's no problem if they exist at the same time.
The basic idea is when there's an A, it's accompanied by a B. Right? It doesn't necessarily work the other way. It might be that when there's a B, it's not accompanied by an A, right? But when there's an A, it's accompanied by a B. So it can be simultaneous, right? But there's still an asymmetrical relation there, because when we say A causes B, it means that when there's an A, it's followed by a B. That's a constant conjunction.
I see there is a difference in time here.
Well, it's not so much a difference in time. It's just that B is not always accompanied by A, but A is always accompanied by B.
But that means if A exists, if B exists, I mean, they have to exist with each other, right? Not one exists with
A doesn't.
No, not necessarily.
A is never seen without B, but B might be observed without A.
So that's the thing. I cannot understand. Then accordingly, I will assume then, because B will be in quantity, if this is repeatable, right? And quantity B will be more than A. And then I will assume maybe B is the cause here. And it doesn't make sense to me, because if they exist at the same time and one is prior to the other, it's illogical to me.
What I'm saying is, right, on this view, if you wanted to ask, if you see a constant conjunction between A and B, and you wanted to ask, well, which is the cause there, right? What's going to make it the case that one is the cause and the other is the effect, even though they're simultaneous, is that there's an asymmetry such that A is always accompanied by B, but B is not always accompanied by A. And that's what it means on the view to say that A is the cause of B.
So Jack, that means you will always see the effect, but not always the cause.
No, I'm just saying that whenever when we say that A is the cause of B, it just means that if there's an A, there must also be a B. But it might not be
well,
the case.
I'm not sure if you want to say must, though. That's going to get you into modality.
Well, I was just talking about the idea of efficient causation.
Whenever you see A, you see B.
Yeah, whenever you see A, you see B. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. The must. Yeah, by must, I understand. Some kind of counterfactual view.
Yeah,
No,
you understand.
I should say will instead of must.
Yeah.
Right.
So I wasn't wrong. That's correct, right? I was correct.
No, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah. So whenever you see A, you will always see B, right? So all necessity amounts to, when you use the word must, right, on a human view, all that amounts to is to say that the conjunction is constant, which is to say it's always observed, right, or it always holds.
Like it's always the case.
That's always the case. Yeah, that's what the must means there.
And how do you explain A here in this view?
What do you mean? How do you explain?
When you see A, you will see B, right? So
yeah,
the causation of B here is A. So how you explain A here?
I'm not sure what you mean by how do you explain it.
I mean the causation of A itself.
It could have A could be caused by something else, or it might be something that doesn't have a cause or an explanation.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say A is the cause and B is the effect, that just means that given that whenever you see an A, you will see a B, right? That means B is the effect.
Yes, but let me ask you, like, what you were debating with him on? What's the point of contention? What was
he was trying to make some kind of objection to this view.
To be honest, I was doubting who's the atheist.
Why?
Because he was doubting this. I mean, to me, I don't see any problem with it, right? So A cause B, that's it.
Well, he seemed to think there was some problem, but I couldn't make sense of his objection.
His objection that time, his definition for time was time. Actually, okay, you and him, you should come to definition of time, because he's thinking because they happening at the same time. Okay, there is no time.
Yeah, but
okay.
I don't think.
And time, I think time to him is the difference, or the period that happens between two events. So
well, I'm not even sure. You know, that probably would help clarify things, but I'm not even sure it's necessary to do that, because what I asked him was, what is the definition of simultaneous, right? And the answer to that question, which he refused to give, was occurring at the same time. And you can see from that definition that time, right, is presupposed in simultaneity. And given that it's presupposed, that means that relations of simultaneity are essentially temporal, right? They're essentially temporal. And so there's no way, I don't even have to go into the definition of time, right? Once he agrees that simultaneous means occurring at the same time, that means that simultaneity is essentially temporal.
But Venus, what was his contention with you in terms of causality? I think there was some difference there.
He tried to give an example where there's like simultaneously, but as like Jack explained, that's compatible with like the human account. But Jack, what do you say if somebody said like, look, X appears whenever Y appears, but Y appears whenever X appears as well, simultaneously?
Then I'm not sure it would make sense to say that only one is the cause and only
Wouldn't you
one
just say
is
like
the effect,
both cause
right?
each other?
Yeah, and so that would probably mean that both are effects of each other, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything absurd with saying that, but some people like to raise that objection, but I don't think it's a good.
Well, maybe it is a good objection, but I guess I'd have to look into it more.
But you gotta.
Is good theist? Like, are you an atheist?
Yeah, I'm an atheist. By the way, Jack, like you'd agree that like the way you explain causation for everything else has to be a different account from how you explain agential causation, right?
Yeah, I was just talking about efficient.
Yeah.
Ordinary or efficient.
And you agree with my account that the way you explain that is in terms of like belief, desire, compare, right?
Yes. I'll be right
so
back.
I think like oh, okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Say what you're gonna say.
No, what I said is like I probably should have made like the qualification when I initially explained my account. I said like it applies this way unless it's like agential causation. Because I don't think I was like I don't think I was like super clear on that when I was talking to the.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think even if you had been clear, I'm not sure.
Obviously, he wouldn't understand that, but like I'm just saying like.
Yeah.
Like looking back, judging myself, I don't think I was like too clear on that.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. So what was saying, Anas?
I'm saying you're an atheist, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what do you think about what the classical Islamic say about these questions?
Who? The فلاسفة, المتكلمين?
No, no.
Who?
No, of course not the philosophy. I mean the religion itself.
According to the religion, according to whom? Who? The Mu'tazila, the Sunnis, the Shia? Who?
Of course the Sunni. The Mu'tazila is not
I don't know.
Muslims,
I don't know.
no.
Of course, I don't know what you believe in. There's no of course. Okay, you're like a Sunni or you're like a Salafi.
Yes.
So what? The Salafis, I don't believe you can give an argument for God.
We don't give an argument for God because God does not require a
Yeah,
proof.
so you don't have an argument for God. So why are you asking me then?
No, we have argument for God. We have evidences.
What's the
That's
what's
the
the
argument. We
evidence?
say you have
What's the evidence for God?
the creation. The creation.
What's the argument that there is
for
such a thing
example.
as creation? I don't believe there's such a thing as creation.
What do you mean there is no such a thing as
I don't believe
creation?
anything is a creation.
What is it then?
I believe in humans, in stuff, in matter, in physics. I don't believe in creation.
So if they are not created, what are they?
Well, human beings would be like, for example, evolved. The planet Earth would have been like evolved, given like the laws of physics and so on, like cosmic evolution. You can always explain things in terms of like the laws.
But you can explain the mechanism though, only.
Yeah, but there's nothing above and beyond the mechanism.
No, there is.
God does not fill those
What's the
gaps.
argument that there is?
There is behind that. So for example, what's your purpose?
I don't believe in purpose. I don't have a purpose.
So you're living for nothing.
Absolutely, yeah.
You existed
Absolutely.
for
I don't
nothing.
believe. I don't believe.
For
Yeah, I don't
nothing,
believe in like that there's like
and
human
you
purpose or anything.
and you will die for nothing.
Absolutely, yeah. Do
That
you have an
means.
argument that we have a purpose?
No, I don't have an argument, but this is unhealthy.
I don't
And
give a
think
shit.
that's
I don't
one
give a
of the
shit if it's unhealthy
yeah,
or not.
that,
What's
No,
the
it's
argument?
not.
no, it
What's
is.
the-
That's
No,
the
you know what
cause actually
unhealthy
for
is?
society.
Believing in false narratives.
One second. One second.
Okay,
What's the argument?
No,
Sorry,
no, no,
what's
no.
the argument?
The
Don't give me.
argument,
Don't.
the argument, the argument that's against a human nature, and this is
What
why
does human
it's
nature
called
mean?
the
One second. What does
if
human
that
nature
is-
mean? What does that mean?
Oh my
What
God.
is human nature? See, you're making up stuff. You're saying human nature. It's our purpose. It's this. No, no, no. Give me the argument. What's the argument that God exists? What are the premises? What's the conclusion? And what's the rule of inference? Don't give me this bullshit about purpose or feelings or health.
Okay, so in your argument before you say A it was the cause for B, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Sure.
So that's the argument. Everything needs a cause. Everything needs
I don't believe
something
that.
to
I don't believe
exist.
that. I don't believe everything needs a cause. What's the argument that everything needs a cause?
There is nothing exists without
What's
a
the
cause.
argument for that?
There is nothing
You're
exists
just
without
repeating the
cause.
claim. What's the
Yeah,
argument?
you're just repeating.
Just like you claim as an atheist that you have no proof, except that
You
there is no
made- you
proof
made
for
a
that.
claim- you made a claim.
That's the same thing. This is the same thing. Look,
Yo,
if you
hey,
can show.
remember when you
Look,
overtalked
Anas,
me about
Anas, Anas,
you
Anas,
saying
shh,
the other
Anas. Give me the argument. Do you have an argument for God? Yes or no?
Don't
Don't
yell,
ask.
man.
I'm
Don't
gonna yell. I'm
don't
gonna yell you out.
The argument is, I can yell too. The argument is, if you cannot provide an
I don't need to
evidence
provide-
that
I don't
something
need-
come to
I don't need-
exist
I don't
without
need-
a
I don't
cause,
need to provide
then there
jack
is
shit. Give me
nothing.
the argument for God. Give me the premises, the conclusion, and the rule
Cry
of
to Jack
inference.
now. Cry to Jack now.
What's
If
the
you yell,
argument?
I'm
What's
gonna-
the argument?
Look, if you yell, I can
What's
yell
the
more.
argument? What's the premises
Again,
of the
I'm gonna run the
conclusion?
argument
Don't run
again
away.
over
Give me
you.
the
Hear me
argument.
out. Hear me
What's
out
the
so you
argument?
can
Give
hear
me
the
the
argument.
premises and the conclusion.
Hear the argument.
Wait. Can you conduct this debate in Arabic?
طيب.
Okay.
Well,
Jack, no.
I think
come on,
I
Jack.
think I need to, I don't know what premises are in Arabic though, Jack.
Well, ask Murphy.
مقدمات.
You're not gonna
ما
get. You're not
هما
gonna get anywhere with
but I'm not
this.
gonna get it. ما هما المقدمات? What is conclusion in Arabic, Anas?
خلاصة.
And what's the rule of inference in Arabic?
Rule of what?
Rule,
Look, I'm not a
rule of
philosopher,
inference.
man.
Rule of inference. I don't know these terms in Arabic.
I'm not a... Yeah, but I don't care about
ما
these
هما-
terms.
Where is where's
Kid, hear me out.
Look,
So
Anas,
again,
you don't.
everything...
Anas, do you have an argument?
I'm
or not?
gonna-
Just don't waste our time. Don't
Okay,
waste our time. Just say
listen.
yes or no.
Listen to me. I'm gonna say what I know.
I don't.
Okay?
Do you
And
have?
after that,
Do you
respond
have
to
an
me.
argument or not?
I'm gonna say what I know, and after that,
I don't give a
respond to
shit.
me.
I don't give a
Okay?
shit what you know. Do you have an argument or not?
Do you have a proof or not?
I don't need the proof. You're claiming you have an argument for God.
Okay, you don't need the proof.
Yeah, because I'm not the one.
Right.
Look. Oh my, sorry, I don't want to insult you because like an Arab, and I love Arab people, but the one who makes the claim needs the proof. You made a claim that you can prove God. What's the argument?
I did not make a claim.
Okay, so you don't.
That's a lie.
Okay, let me take that back. So you don't have. You can.
And I said God does not need a proof. That's what I
So you
said
don't
to
have,
you.
okay, that's fine. So you don't have an argument for God.
Subhanallah.
Yes or no? Yes or
Listen
no?
to
Yes
me.
or no?
Listen to me. Can you prove me something exists without any cause? Can you prove that?
I don't need to prove that. If you think,
If you cannot prove it, this is
That
my
doesn't
proof.
follow.
Because this is your proof to be an this is your proof to be an atheist, and you have to accept it. This is your own proof to be an atheist.
Unless you're like really stupid. Look, if I don't have a counterexample to a principle, it doesn't follow that the principle is true. You still.
Okay.
Anas, listen. Before you say okay, shh, and listen to what I'm saying. Let's talk about principle. Let's say everything has a cause. That's the principle. Just because I can give you a counterexample doesn't mean that the principle is correct. You still need an argument for it. So asking me.
What do you mean you need an argument? What do you mean
You
need
need
an
an
argument?
argument that the principle is correct, even if I can't give you an.
So you don't agree. So you personally, you don't agree that everything need a cause, correct?
You don't agree with that because you don't think God has a cause.
I agree with that. Everything need a
Does
cause.
God have a cause?
No, that's
Then you just
different.
contradicted yourself.
No,
Sorry,
no, because
guys,
this will contradict
guys,
infant.
guys.
This will contradict infant
Did you
regress.
just say everything has a cause?
I said everything has a
Then
cause.
God has a cause, thank
Except the first cause.
Okay, I don't believe in that principle. What's the argument for that principle?
Infinite regress. It's
Why is
impossible.
infinite regress impossible?
Because you know the example of the bullet and the command. The soldier and the bullet and the command. You know this
Okay, the
argument?
soldier pulled the command right now, and there's like an infinite commands prior to him. What's the problem?
No, he have to wait for
No,
the
he
command to
doesn't.
come
No.
from his officer. He have
No,
to
you're
wait because
confusing.
he's a soldier, and he have. No,
You're
I'm not.
confusing
He's
two
a
things.
soldier.
You're confusing.
He's a soldier. Listen, let me.
I know.
let me
Listen, I know your
speak,
example.
please.
I know
Let me
your
speak, please.
example. I know your
Okay, then you know
argument.
it. If the command did not, if the command was not initiated, then the bullet will
Yeah,
not be
Adam.
launched. Therefore, no. Therefore,
No,
if God did not exist, we will not
Adam,
exist.
no, you. Oh my God, you're so stupid. Look, there's a difference.
You're stupid, man. Stop personalizing things, man.
Adam, can you explain to me what's the difference between a beginningless set and an endless set?
Mean Adam.
Sorry, what's your name? Anas. Sorry, Anas. What's the difference between beginningless and endless? A beginningless set and an endless set.
Doesn't have a beginning, and the other one doesn't have an
Okay,
end.
now let's take a beginningless set, right? Would an infinite be traversed in that set?
Sorry, go
In a beginningless set,
again?
would an infinite be traversed?
I don't know.
Exactly. It wouldn't, because you can put a beginningless set in a one-to-one correspondence with the set of the natural numbers, and the distance between any point in that set would always be a finite distance. So in that case, an infinite would not be traversed. Now, if the case is like the guy, the sniper person or the pilot or whatever example you have in mind, he takes the shot now, and we say, why did you take the shot? And he said, my officer told me to take the shot. It's always going to be the case that in the set, the command would always be given. They would, but if he now needs to ask for a command, it would never be met, because then it would be like an endless series. Because for him to take the shot, the guy before him has to give him the command and so on. But if he just took the shot now and it's part of an endless series, then yeah, he can have take a shot and he could be an infinite regress, but there would be no problem, because any point in that in that set would be like a finite distance, and there would be no problem. Why you're confusing?
No, you're confusing. You now you added things. You added things to it, right? Because the example is the command has to come for the bullet to go
now you're
out.
just confusing a beginningless with like an endless series again.
Okay.
Sorry, Jack.
Matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Jack, do you think you can make progress with this person?
You will never make a progress.
I just think you're too stupid to make progress. I don't mean to insult you. I just don't think you understand. I just explained to you the difference between beginningless and endless, and I think it went over your head. I don't mean to insult you. I just don't think you're like adept to have these types of discussions.
I told you I'm not a philosopher.
Yeah, that's the problem. You don't understand any philosophy.
Anas.
Sorry, Billy. Do you wanna?
Okay. Explain to me how the world came to existence.
That's a question of physics. That's not a question of philosophy.
So you don't have an answer for it.
Well,
I mean,
I don't think physics has like a decided answer yet, Anas. Neither does Islam, because in Islam you just have fairy tales and stories. You don't have evidences for your claims. Sorry, Billy. Sorry. Anas, don't speak. Anas.
Explain to me how the world. Explain to me how the word came to existence.
I don't know.
You don't know. So when you don't have any argument, right? You don't have any argument.
For what?
For the word how to came to exist.
Do you know?
You don't know. I told you, yeah. God.
Okay, what's the evidence?
God. Now you're rejecting this. The argument. This is the argument. This is the explanation how the word came to existence. Do you have an explanation for it?
I don't have an explanation, neither do you.
You don't have an explanation, correct? And you're just rejecting out of your ass. That's it, right?
Sorry, let me know when you're done shouting, okay? So are you done screaming?
Because obviously you don't listen if someone did not shout on you, right?
All you have is a story, a fairy tale, a children's tale that you think that's your.
Tell me something, not fairy tale. Tell me something, not fairy tale. Tell me something.
What's the argument for that? Give me an argument. You don't have an argument.
The argument I want you to tell me something isn't a fairy tale. Go ahead.
Be agnostic on the claim, dumbass. You're the one who's making the positive claim.
If you are agnostic, then keep the shit up.
I can still call
out. Why are you going propagating about it? Why are you propagating it? Why are you propagating it?
Giving us story tales. You're telling us what your Baba. There's like a Baba in heaven. There's like Allah in heaven.
And you are telling me, who are you? At least, listen, dummy. At least I know my Baba. Who are you? Why I should follow you?
You couldn't give me an argument. I gave you an argument why there's no problem. It went above your head.
Give me an argument for the word.
Oh, I don't understand philosophy. I'm too stupid to understand philosophy. I'm not a philosopher. Oh, I can't explain these things. And then you said, oh, okay, how
do you think you're smart, dummy? Do you think you're smart? You think you're smart?
You think you're smart? You're so stupid that you think if somebody doesn't have an account for the universe, that means that God exists. This is how slow you are. This is how stupid you are. You're so stupid that you think if I can tell you how the universe came about, therefore God, because you don't know logic, you don't know philosophy, you don't know anything. You're Rabbi, you're stupid. You're like a Salafi Rabbi who thinks in
you dumb ass. Listen to me. Hey, idiot. Listen. Tell me what's the argument for the existence of the universe. Tell me what is the argument for the existence of the universe.
No.
Tell me what is the argument.
Let me add like an ad hoc.
You're crying since the morning, man.
Besides, the first thing must have a cause. What's the heck? Principle? Oh, I don't know.
Stop crying like a widow. Stop crying like a widow, man. Stop crying like a widow.
And I said,
what the heck?
Beginningless and endless.
Stop crying like a widow.
How the universe came about? Okay, you're like a Rabbi. You're a Hamar. You don't know
You're an absolute
There's no
idiot.
dalil for God.
You're an
You said, no, there
absolute
must be,
idiot.
because what's the first
You're
cause? Everything must have a
idiot.
cause. And you
Hey,
fucked yourself
hey,
when you
hey,
said
hey,
everything
you-
has a cause. Because if everything has a cause, then your Allah
No.
has a cause. Then you said, no, I'm going to change my
You're an
mind.
idiot.
Everything except for Allah has a cause. Then I said, what's the argument for that?
Stop crying like a widow.
What about
Are you
the
done? Are you done crying like a widow? Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Are you done?
That went above your head.
Are you done?
And I challenge you right now, explain the difference between an endless and a beginning of a series.
Oh
We
my
both know
God.
you don't know shit about set theory. You don't know shit about set theory. You don't shit about set theory. Admit that you don't know anything about set theory. Okay, so don't come here trying to like overtalk people, because if you want to overtalk me, I'm going to out-insult you and out-talk you and insult you until tomorrow. If you want to debate me, I'm going to rape you in debate. If you want to insult me, I'm going to rape you in insulting, okay? So
Hey,
don't try to
idiot!
come here and
Listen,
overtalk me.
listen,
Don't ever
listen,
try to
listen,
overtalk
listen,
me, okay?
listen,
Don't ever try to
idiot!
overtalk me, because
Shut
I'm
the fuck
gonna
up,
fucking rape you
man!
and overtalk
Shut the
you.
fuck up!
You're like,
Stop!
"That's a shit
Stop
Muslim, I'm
talking
gonna
like an
overtalk you,
idiot!
and I'm gonna win in
Wallah, you're
you
a
don't know
shit
shit about
fucking
set theory.
idiot.
You came here saying,
What the who cares about set theory? Who cares about set theory? Who cares about set theory? Who cares about it? Who cares about it? Who cares about it? Who cares about it? Who cares about set theory? 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 You're an idiot. Say you're an idiot. You كلب. والله you كلب. والله you كلب. حيوان يا رجال. والله انك حيوان.
يا كلب يا اخو الشرموطه.
كس امك يا اخو الشرموطه انت يا احبه.
تو عليك يا كلب. Okay.
Thank you
Now,
much,
Jack,
my
Jack,
lord.
why did you make me go through that?
That was nuts.
That was. I'm.
Wait, Jack,
I'm
Jack, did you hear that, Jack?
Yeah, I heard it.
Why did you make me go through that?
I made you go through
Hey,
it?
I tried to intervene, but
One second,
Me-
but Jack, do you think
me too,
do you think
but
I'm
it was-
funny when I'm insulting in Arabic, Jack?
I
Yeah.
had to deal with that guy in a room.
Wait, Billy,
where
Billy, did I deal with him well or not,
house.
Billy?